Hey guys, what's happening? Welcome to the first edition of Valhalla Life. This is a little show that we've decided to put together to reach out to the community, to answer some questions, and just to have a chat about everything regarding fitness, health, life in general. Enjoy some good time speaking with some special guests. But before we get there, I'm just going to introduce my team today. I am Daine Smit. I am the owner at dainesmit Corrective Training. We have Russ Swanepoel. He is the owner and head coach at CrossFit Sumba. We also have Shilo, head chief coach at strengthsocietyza, and then James Peters videography. He is our editing maestro for today. Guys, that is the team. We're going to get into some pretty good chat today. But before that, gents, how are we all doing?
Yeah, I'm good, Daine.
Fantastic.
Can't complain at all.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, bud.
Good stuff, guys. We all surviving?
Yeah.
Made it through day 40.
Sheesh, it's already been 40 days, guys. Hell. Cool, guys. So what we're going to do today is we got a couple questions which have come in from some of our fans, per se, some of the viewers. And we're going to get James Peters videography. He's going to be running through the questions today. And let's get some questions going, guys. Let's get this underway. Jamo.
Yeah. All right. So the first question I've got is from TurboTorp, and they want to know, what is motivating you to work hard in this current time? So can we start with you, Russ?
Oh, cool. That's a very cool question. I think the thing that's really getting me focused and helping me be productive is the fact that I think it's kind of an idea of embracing the present. This is where we're at. It's not a waiting period. You can get something done with this time. And for me, my job is to make sure that my members are moving, active, healthy, and motivated. And in that way, hopefully they'll become positive or have positivity be easier for them. So what's really keeping me positive and focused and motivated this time is the fact that I'm trying to focus very heavily on living in the present and accepting that this is what it is. There's nothing I can do to change it. There's nothing I need to do to change it. All I need to do is to do the very best with what I have at this time. And that's about learning to reach my community in different ways, and making sure that at all times I'm delivering and making sure that they get the best for them. And I think that applies to any job that you're doing. This is what it is. This is the new normal, and wherever we go from here will be the new normal for there. So yeah, embracing the moment that I'm in, focusing on making the best of the circumstances that I have, and not worrying about either trying to get back to normal or hoping for some future. This is what it is. Get on with it and focus.
Cool. Very good answer there, Russ. That's a nice one. Daine, can we push that question to you?
Cool. Yeah. So I think that there's two ways for me that I'll go about kind of answering this, and that luckily for me, that any kind of opportunities or situations I've had in life hasn't really been just given quite easily. I mean, I've had to really put in some work in order to be where I am today. I know that coming out of varsity, or school per se, there weren't really any big offers lined up for me, and I had to really work kind of hard to really set something up to make my name out there. And I mean, that's still continuing to this day. So yeah, in this time, it's kind of like just trying to focus on those same kind of principles, really putting in the hard yards, taking time to reach out to clients, making sure that they're okay. I mean, they are now, if in my case, there's some individuals who are sitting at home, they're in pain. A lot of my work, I work hands-on. So just kind of touching in with them, making sure that they're okay, putting in that extra little bit of work, not letting them just kind of go to bed each night wondering, like, will they ever kind of be checked in on, make sure that they're all right. So putting in that work to really kind of make sure that everything is still running and is still working well. And then like secondly, I also think that it's a little bit of like an adapt or die situation. You can't really sit back and think, you know what, this is the situation that we're all in now. I'm going to go sit and sulk in my room until this all blows over, until I can go back to whatever job that I was doing. I think some of the most, how can I say, established businessmen, entrepreneurs have been given this or been put in a situation like this, and then have reacted with a plan, with motivation to make something of it, to make it so that they can keep growing, that they can keep reaching their audience. And I mean, as much as it isn't a good time in the world. There's, I mean, death every day, but I think for us, we can still see positives in that we can make something of each day. We can put things together. We can collaborate. I mean, even just the show is a great example of being in this situation, but coming together and still trying to reach out to the community and trying to just add value. So I mean, hard work in this time is just taking those opportunities, being disciplined, and just getting the work done, really. Yeah.
Awesome answer there, Daine. Shilo?
For me, I think that it's obviously a combination of what Russ and Daine just said. I think a big motivating factor for me is just in terms of sport. You know, there's no real direction of will we play sport again this year, won't we? So in general, people have to keep moving and keep putting in the work. And, you know, it's forced me to think out of the box in terms of programming. So, you know, how can we do that better? How can we do this better? How can we keep people active? So that's been exciting and different, and it's been a nice change. I think the other motivating factor is, and I think Daine and Russ touched on it, is the adapt or die. I think as a business, you have to be able to evolve. We're not just going to wake up in a month's time and, you know, everything's going to be normal. Hey guys, go back to normal. There's no level 1 or level 3. I think that as a business, you have to be able to see this time as an opportunity to, like I said, evolve and find a way to make the lives of your clients better, whether that's checking in with them, whether that's video calling them, or even just dropping them a message saying, hey, you haven't checked in a while. What's going on? Are you training? Are you moving? Is there something more I can do? Just becoming a little bit more attentive to their needs. And I think this period's forced me to do that. Whereas normally, if you know, in an everyday situation, you see them, you chat with them, you interact. Now there's no forced interaction, so it's up to you as a person to communicate with them. So I think those are just some of the things that are keeping me going personally, from a business front. But the points that Russ and Daine made, obviously, all brilliant.
Yeah, no, I agree with all of you there. Like for me, you know, it's I can look at this in two ways, I guess. You know, what motivates me to keep me physically active, and then sorry, my door was about to slam. What keeps me physically active, and then if I look at it from a work point of view, you know, what's keeping me motivated, especially for someone like me who I can't go out now and do 90% of my job. I can edit at home, but I can't go and produce any new work. So it's what can I do at home to maybe, you know, better my skills or in some way improve upon what I know about my industry. So, you know, those motivations come from whether it's just watching YouTube, seeing some instructional videos of guys that I follow or subscribe to. And I think that's what's keeping me going at the moment.
I've got something that I just quickly, before we move on to the next question, just kind of directing it at everyone here. Do you find that in this period, I mean, I know we're talking about working hard here, but Shilo, he spoke about something that just got me thinking. We are not having forced interaction with people now. So do you guys find that you are spending a bit more time doing a little bit more marketing work, reaching out via text, videos, online calls, more so than what you've originally done before this lockdown period?
For me, I think 100% yes. One of the sort of goals that I set at the start of this week was those people who I haven't heard from in a while, try set up a video call or, you know, some sort of interaction with in the course of this week. And then people who I feel not maybe struggling, maybe they're struggling to get movements right or whatever, just give them 15-20 minutes of my time over a WhatsApp call or Zoom or whatever. So in that regard, definitely. I'm quite lucky that, you know, the social media side, Donna takes care of, so I don't really have to worry too much. But in terms of like posting stories and stuff, yeah, like definitely more than what I did in the past.
Cool, yeah. Russ, anything there, bud?
Yeah, I think it's obviously because a lot of I think kind of, I don't want to call it laziness, but you kind of get used to the idea that all of your work is in person and practical, and or pre-COVID, all of our work was in person, and that's how you engage with people. So I think this is learning another avenue or realizing the importance of this avenue in terms of social media type things. But I also think that if it's taught me anything, it's how valuable in-person communication is and how valuable in-person contact is, I think, especially for our communities. I just think for the most part, there is something intangible to being able to see and touch and be around other people, even if being around crowds or lots of people is not your thing. I mean, I'm not extroverted really, but I mean, there's a lot to be said for being in a gym and seeing your people and having those sorts of things. So yes, of course, if I want to reach my people, I have to learn to use Instagram, Facebook, and WhatsApp a lot better and a lot more productively. But I've also learned how valuable the physical community we have is, and as a result, I've had to adapt our online community.
Okay, so yeah, moving on to the next question by Paige Phillips, and she wants to know how to improve mental fitness.
So how to improve mental fitness? Couple ways. For me specifically, I think we can go about down the one way is that whether you are a very hands-on person when it comes to kind of learning things, I would challenge each person to try and learn something new. All right, it's a brilliant way to kind of teach the brain something. I know myself, I kind of took on a new hobby / sport at the beginning of this year, and I was really pleasantly surprised at how much you actually learned and how much it forced me to concentrate in a different way than what I was used to on an everyday basis. Whether it be strategy, kind of small little tactics, even just thinking about bodily position, like already something in that from a sport has taught me so much, and it challenges you in such a different way. And that can, I mean, it doesn't just have to be applied to a sport, that can be applied to many different ways. And the whole kind of principle is just learning. So getting out there, learning something new. And then the second thing that I would kind of talk about when thinking about mental fitness is having discipline. We touched on it last point, being disciplined in whether it be a routine structure or just a disciplined fashion, so that you know you are kind of either getting goals done, you are attacking a problem, you are working through those problems, problem solving, and then kind of just wanting to be able to conquer a task. So if you know, let's say, for an example, if you're a tennis player and you get out there, instead of going and just hitting it against the wall for an hour, you might want to go and say, all right, well, let's practice this shot. And you're going to be working through that until you feel, okay, all right, I'm happy with that. And then at that point, you leave it alone and you move on to something else. It's just kind of, instead of just aimlessly going about things, having goals, setting them and working through them, having the discipline to say, all right, that's enough. I'm going to move on to the next thing. And yeah, so those are kind of my two points on that.
Awesome. Shilo?
Like Daine did, you know, for me personally, it's, and what I've done in this period or post or pre this period is try set little challenges for myself, whether it's training to try find an extra gear at the end of, you know, a 20 or 30-minute workout, or like relating it to golf, where dropping a ball at X distance and, you know, throughout the 18 holes and trying to hit a green and make the putt, you know, X amount of times. For me, that's how I like to challenge myself. I do read a fair amount, but I try and relate most of the mental side of things to actually doing a task or being put under pressure. I think it's very different, and I'm going a little bit more in sports training side point of view. It's a little bit different when you are under pressure. I think your body does funny things when you are put under pressure, whether that's a, you know, a CrossFit comp or playing golf, or, you know, it's different teeing off on your own, playing a back nine with no one around, to teeing off and there's a clubhouse full of people and there's a few members standing behind you. You know, it's I think putting yourself, or learning to put yourself under pressure, even if it's just a made up scenario, you'll definitely see benefits in that mental side of the game. There's a lot of, you know, people, sports teams now in general have sports psychologists, etc. And I'm by no means qualified in any way, shape, or form to answer those types of questions. But excuse me, I think that the mental side of things and working on, you know, even just a routine that you might have, is invaluable, and it will bring results, whether it's on a sports field or in training or even in your sort of day-to-day life.
Sure. Yeah. Russ, what's your take on that?
Definitely agree with the guys speaking before me. I would sort of try and maybe condense or simplify the answers in terms of mental strength or mental resilience or fitness, or whichever angle you want to speak about it from. I think they're all pretty much the same. I approach these things from the idea of what is your ultimate goal, and then break it down from there, move backwards into smaller micro goals, so that they become sort of daily tasks and daily activities that lead into weekly accomplishments that build into sort of monthly progressions. And if you add the 1% growth every day, you are likely to find yourself in a lot further along the path than you think. And when you undertake sort of those very small daily challenges and daily tasks that are there to build the foundation of what your ultimate sort of skill or outcome is supposed to be, you find yourself, or you will require a lot of discipline to get that done. And discipline is better than being motivated, because discipline means you will get it done even when you don't want to. And that happens when you've got a really significant goal that you'd like to achieve. So if you're looking for mental strength or mental fitness, your goals, motivation, and discipline have to line up. And if they don't, you are not going to achieve anything. And then, in addition to that, you've obviously got to approach then each day's discipline with intent. You've got to get out there and get it done. And if just getting it done is the focus, that's fine. But if getting it done with a little bit more intensity today than yesterday is the focus, then that's what you've got to do. And then I think, especially building on what Shilo just said now about exposure, and what Daine said about learning new skills, I was listening to a chat with, so it was a podcast as well, with Richie McCaw and Dan Carter, the great All Blacks of our recent times and maybe of all time. And Richie McCaw was one of the greatest captains, I think, of rugby ever. he identified a difference in their team and their ability to win games when they were looking to execute the process well, i.e. execute daily discipline well. And once that happened, they had the confidence in really high pressure situations to not crumble. They were looking for those challenges. They wanted them because those challenges under greater circumstances with sort of higher risk reward ratio could only be achieved if you've done that foundational work. And so you've got to risk it, and you've got to be willing to put yourself into that position. But in order to be willing to put yourself in those high risk or high, those high echelon situations, you've got to have done the daily work. And that means doing those boring, stupid things every single day that nobody else wants to do. So, I mean, again, Kobe Bryant was super famous for just doing simple drills every single day that nobody else would do. Everybody else thought they've already made the NBA. They don't need to, practice simple dribbling and passing. He did. That's why he's one of the greatest. So I think, again, comes back to simple daily goals, doing the basics really well. And when you do the basics really well, you've got the confidence to build on that.
Yeah, definitely getting those foundations set. Even though, you might be at the top, you still got to maintain that and still keep the structure strong. I went for a 10K run today, and I didn't really have a goal going into it in terms of a time, but a friend of mine had set an average of 5 minutes 15 per kilometer over 10Ks, and I thought, well, I'd like to see how close I could get to that. I didn't think I would be able to beat that. Sorry. And anyway, going into it, I've got my watch, and it's tracking me and it's keeping me up to date it past every kilometer of what my rate was. And I was starting well. I was probably like 508, 509, then it was starting to slip, and then I go past 515, and then I go past 520, and I'm like, it's okay. I'm at least now going to set myself this goal of making sure I get this 10Ks done within an hour. And anyway, on my last few Ks, I think it was on the 8th K and the 9th K, I'm like, you know what, there's not much left here. I can surely just push these last couple of kilometers, bring that pace, back to something that's close to what my target originally was. And that was my goal then. So I said something, and I was like, okay, I knew it wasn't really achievable for me to hit 515 across that 10Ks. But having the goal set of knowing, okay, I do want to get this done within an hour, because I knew it was achievable, but I still had to work at it to get there, was for me, that was mental fit. That was a mental training for me more than anything. So maybe next time I go out, I'll be like, okay, obviously, I know what my time was, I know what my average pace was, and now I just need to improve, like you were saying, maybe 1% better. And then the next time I go out, 1% better again. So eventually, you start getting these small little increments of these improvement that you do, which in the long run is a massive gain, but it's those tiny little steps that you got to take to get there. So I completely get that.
I think something important that Russ mentioned was making sure that they all align. I think you have to be able to make sure that they all align. And just listening to you, Jamie, just got me thinking to when I was still playing cricket. And I had this attitude of, I will 100% work harder than you. I'll catch more balls. I will run more. I will hit more balls. But hindsight's quite a funny thing. If I look back, I probably didn't do the things that I needed to do to get to the next level. Yes, I hit balls and I caught balls, but I thought just sheer volume would get me to where I want to be. But it obviously didn't, so I wouldn't be sitting here. But I just think that you need to make sure that all three of those aspects are 100% aligned. And be honest with yourself when you are setting those goals, or, trying to set out little challenges for yourself daily. Make sure that they are, they're working off each other. Yeah, sorry, I thought I'd just add that in.
All right, so our next question comes from James Oliver, and he wants to know how important routine is during lockdown. Russ, if I can just start with you on this.
I think routine is kind of everything and nothing, if I'm honest. I think that there's a huge balance between using routine well to your advantage and using it to structure your day to be productive and to give it purpose. And then I think there's also a huge value in having sort of, let's call it mental agility, to be able to say, okay, cool, that's enough, now I can relax. So the way I think is the best way to do that is to sort of prioritize tasks through your day. So it is going to require a little bit of planning to your life. Identify the most urgent and important things that need to be done for Wednesday on Tuesday. So plan ahead, get those priorities set up straight. Maybe you know you've got 4 meetings that you have to attend online, and those are going to be at whatever time. So those times are blocked out. And then after that, you can sort of fill in the time in between with either rest or a trip to the shops or whatever it is. But routine is definitely valuable and will make more of your day. I think you've got to factor in the main priorities. Like I said, if it's work that you've got to do from home, set out what times you're going to get that done. I would also try and prioritize important things like exercise and rest, and obviously family time with that as well. And I think a lot of us are having to learn about this, because often people use going to work as an imposed routine, whereas now we're having to set it up for ourselves. So yeah, I definitely think routine is valuable. I think it's got to be done in line with planning, but I also think that we should never allow ourselves to put ourselves in a position where without routine we are at a loss. You should be able to sort of have enough agility within your mind and your planning and your structure for your day to be like, actually today I need to chill a bit harder, or shit, I need to work harder. The other things can be sort of shipped off to the side. And that comes with being able to clearly identify what are your priorities and what are your responsibilities for the day or the week or whatever.
Yeah, thanks, Russ. Daine, same question to you.
Cool. Yeah, I can say for myself, the routine, or how important this routine has been in lockdown, is really, really important. It's been something that I've needed to adjust to. I know that during this lockdown, some of us have maybe some of our jobs. I know JMO, you probably can relate to this. Some of our jobs have been cut off, so all my treatments that I would do, anything that required me to work hands-on, has now been taken away, which obviously can cause some distress. Income drops a little bit, so this is a stressful time. And I think the thing for me that was so important was establishing a nice early routine. I mean, I had chats with Russ, and it was just about getting something going so that those demons and kind of that stress wouldn't get to you as much as, let's say, if you just kind of sat around dwelling on it, sulking or something like that. So that routine helped me just to kind of put myself at a little bit of ease, set out goals for the day. I know still up, like we day 40 today, and I'm still writing out daily things where it's right. I know that I have to check in with this person, with that person. I need to make sure that I'm working my social media, making sure that I'm getting out there, even if it's giving out content on things that could even be free content, educational content, just getting out there, setting myself things that I can do around the house, at home. And what I've also liked is that, and I think Russ also said that, I've enjoyed the aspect of there not being a routine as well, to an extent. So for me, it's like, yes, you have that routine you set out during your day and you see X amount of people, but whereas pre-lockdown, you might have had a set appointment at 12 o'clock, where now that's dropped away. It's nice because you have the opportunity now to do something different, whether that be reading a new book, doing an online course, doing some DIY at home, it's something, it's gone totally out of your normal routine, but it's put in something different, which you can now consider your new routine. And for some people that might be awesome, but some people, they may be hating it. But I've been optimistic about it, and I've set out new little things for myself to do, which has been really rewarding. And I've made some gains on that. I've also, now that they've opened up a little bit of the lockdown parameters, our new routine is walking our dog in the morning. So every morning now we look forward to getting outside, getting some fresh air, a little bit of exercise. We get to see the dog enjoying some time outside. And that routine is constantly changing. And I mean, if you get a day, Russ also mentioned where, hell, you feel a little bit under the weather, you don't feel like really maybe getting your exercise done, or heaps and heaps of programming, like, that's also okay. You can afford a day where you can just kind of put it on the back burners, relax a little bit, and make sure that the next day you're ready to get back into it with the same fire, and picking up on that kind of question one that we spoke about today, that same kind of work ethic, the goals, and etc. So yeah, my final kind of view on it, routine has been really good, and I'm looking forward to the challenges that are still to come. I know that there will still be challenges. This isn't just going to be a little kind of period where it's okay, a couple months and then we totally back to normal. We're constantly going to have to keep evolving and setting new routines for ourselves. But you know what? As long as we're doing that with a good work ethic and with a very optimistic view, then I think we'll all be okay. So yeah, that's me.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, Daine. Yeah, I definitely get that. Routine is good, but you don't want to be like locked down because of it. Excuse the pun there, but you still got to be flexible as well as maintaining a routine in some way. Shilo, what is your take on it?
For me, I'll be honest, the first sort of week or 5 days I struggled, just because pre-lockdown my life was very, very, very much routine based. So up at 4, have coffee, do this, do that, and I would sort of just fill in the gaps where I could. This has taught me, or this period has taught me to, like Russ said, prioritize tasks, get that done, and then crack on with the rest of the day, whether it's doing what I want to do, or whatever. But I definitely think the biggest sort of point to come out of this question is make sure that you are sort of prioritizing tasks, and just so that, I suppose, it doesn't get monotonous and boring, because I think that's what Russ mentioned with there's good and bad to having a routine. If anything, sort of on a slightly different take to it, it's made me damn excited to get back into gym coaching people again, as opposed to this. I don't think the hunger as it is now to coach people has been as it is in the last sort of year and a bit. So I think that's a good thing. It's definitely sort of sparks and flames for me again. I know that's a little bit off topic, but yeah, just my feels on the question.
I think that you're quite right there. Just to add on that point, I know for myself that it's also like my desire to want to kind of get back to working one-on-one with people is really at a high at the moment. I feel like it's really, doing the online work has really been a new kind of opportunity to broaden the horizons, but getting back to that bread and butter of working with people again is really something that I've looked forward to. And something that I think we can all, going forward, is like, we don't want to take for granted again. Not that we ever did, but it's something that, like, it's valuable, and to all of us. So yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, I'm going to move on to the next question. And this is from Mike Bain 93. And they want to know how to manage high workload to stop burnout. Shilo, if I can start with you.
I think with this one, it sort of touches on the 3 questions prior to this. Prioritizing, making sure that your goals are aligned, but also being honest with yourself in terms of, is this task really necessary for me to be doing right now? Or am I just hustling or grinding for no reason? I think that's a question that you need to make sure you ask yourself. Can I do this now? Is it something that's due in the next hour, or is it something that I could sort of push to the side and get back to it when I'm in a better frame of mind? Or maybe I need to, going back to the routine thing, maybe I need to do X, Y, Z before I tackle this task. I think those are the questions you have to ask yourself. For me, the first week of lockdown, I sat there trying to do X amount of programs in a day or in half a day. And I realized actually, I can't do this because I'm working till 11 or 12 on a Saturday night. And I just sort of learned over this period to divide and conquer, which is again something that I'd never really done previously to this. It was just, okay, I need to do this. I'm definitely one of those people that if you give me a task to do, I'll get it done before I need to move on. Like, I've never really gone, okay, I'm gonna do 10% now, 10%. I've been all or nothing. That's just a personality thing. But this period has taught me to go, okay, this is important, that's not important. Daine, your program's really important, so I'm going to mail that to you first. JMO, not so much. You can do your own thing. And that's where, this period's helped me to differentiate between the 2 tasks. But I definitely think that you as a person, you need to ask yourself that important question.
Russ, before I move the question over to you, say for example you are somebody that that does burn out. How do you think that they should really manage themselves, or what do you think that they need to do to change why they're getting into that situation in the first place?
I think self-awareness is invaluable, and it's an invaluable skill that we don't know enough about, and it's not valued enough. And by self-awareness, I mean having the ability to objectively and honestly assess your own skill set, and then compare that to what the requirements of the task are. So if I know that I'm not capable, if I overestimate what my ability is, the likelihood of me burning out or being overwhelmed by whatever task it is 100%. I will not be able to meet it. It is unlikely that I will be able to learn and adapt fast enough to the requirements of the role within which I hope to undertake if I am not honest with myself about that. So I think that's the first thing, is you need to develop and be humble enough, put your ego to the side, be humble enough to be honest about what your strengths and weaknesses are. If you told me tomorrow, Russell, you need to go and teach CrossFit in a French-only speaking country, and you need to speak French, I know for a fact that I can go and teach CrossFit, but I know that I can't teach it in French. So I've either got to be honest and say, that's fine, I can go, but you need to give me a month or 2 to upskill my French before you sort of criticize me on it or whatever, if that makes sense. However, if I tried to bullshit my way through it and said, like, overestimated my ability to acquire a language, which I know is not a strength of mine, then the reality is that I'm probably not going to be able to succeed in that task, and sooner or later I will be found wanting and I will fail and let all parties down. So step 1, be self-aware, compare your present skills and your ability to acquire skills in relation to the task. if you find yourself up short, now we've got an option, or now we know where we stand. So from this position here, we can either address, can I learn the skills fast enough to be able to execute the challenge that I'm speaking about? Conversely, can I approach whoever is designating me this task or managing me or leading me? Can I approach them for assistance, guidance, support, or to maybe be reassigned if it's too urgent? So you've got to put your own ego aside and identify that the task is the most important thing and approach it from there. I think often when we get into these situations, we've been led to we've been led to believe that faking it till you make it, or bullshitting your way through is acceptable, and it's really not. Because what happens in most of those situations is everybody loses, and you either get a bad reputation from, say, your management staff or whatever. This guy can't do it, he's shit at his job, when in reality you just didn't know how to do it any better. Alternatively, you take a huge knock on your confidence and you don't want to take the next challenge, or you're too scared to learn or try something new. And those are equally as bad, because they stagnate your growth indefinitely. So I think if I'm looking at it, I want to develop and express a high level of self-awareness and honesty as sort of somebody who leads people to a greater or lesser degree. I would much rather deal with somebody who says to me, listen, I think I can do 60% of this task well. I know 40% today I'm shit at. The likelihood of me learning that 40% by the time we need to start this task is not that high. Can I get somebody to help me when we get to that stage? Yes or no? Can I get extra help to learn it? Or do I need to be reassigned? That person I want to deal with because I can trust that person. And you've got to look at it like that. So I think often flipping the position is like, so if you are worried about whether or not you're getting overwhelmed by something, put yourself in a position of the people who have given you that task. Like, what would I want to hear if I was in their position? Would I want this guy to continue trying and fuck up indefinitely and continuously not do the task and waste everybody's time, because then we're going to have to restart it again with somebody who can do it? Or would I want them to come to me immediately and tell me that they can or can't do it? And in most of these situations, you would much rather find out and have all the information up front and be able to deal with it ahead of time rather than find out too late. And I think we need to embrace the fact that we don't know something, because it gives us a much better opportunity to learn something new and not be scared of the consequences of that. I know growing up, I was shit at that. Like, I thought, oh no, if these people think I can't do it, they're not going to give me anything more. They're not going to like me. And I probably held back my own development in a lot of avenues and didn't learn nearly as much as I could, just because I kept my mouth shut when somebody asked if I knew how to do something. It would have been much better if I said, no, I don't. Can you show me? I would have learned a lot more.
Thanks, Russ. Yeah. Daine, what is your take on it?
Yeah, so I think myself on this question, it boils down to two words, and that is discipline and support. So I'll talk a little bit more on the kind of sports and fitness side of things. So when doing fitness and everything, or everything related to sports, I know that often we can get caught up and get excited about, let's say now starting a new sport, CrossFit, for example, you can get really excited and you can take on a little bit too much, and you can really work yourself until you start to break down a little bit. Immune system doesn't start to respond well, and you start leading towards burnout. I think what you need there is the discipline to say, okay, instead of me going in and spending, I don't know, 6 hours doing 10 WODs a day, I'm going to have the discipline to maybe do 2 WODs a day and attack it with all my intensity, focusing on whatever I need to that goals that I have, practicing, doing this and this and that, but then also having the discipline to say, tomorrow I'm going to take a rest day, or saying, you know what, this weekend I'm only going to do something that's light, and that's maybe I'll go do something fun like a bike ride or a walk on the beach as an active recovery, so that you're not getting yourself stuck in the same kind of motions, and eventually you get over it. Like it's discipline of saying, instead of me attacking this at, let's say, 60% effort, but just doing a sheer massive volume, I'm going to attack maybe half of it with all my intensity. But then also getting a bit of support. I mean, someone who comes in, let's take CrossFit, for example, you get a new member coming in and they fall in love with the sport, and it's talking about that. They get excited and it's something that's on their mind, and I mean, they're really pumped up about. They want to get better at it, but they're going ahead and they're doing, like I said, maybe 6 WODs a day, and they maintain that for 3 weeks. Of course, they're gonna end up in burnout unless they're a superhuman athlete. They're gonna eventually end up in some form of a burnout. I think it's the support from someone who's a little bit more experienced, knowledgeable, coming in and saying, "Hey, man, like, what is your plan here? Like, are you working on a plan, a program? Do you have designated rest days? How often are you getting recovery work done to your body? How often are you doing something that's going to help recover your mind, whether that be, like I said, doing something fun, maybe going for a walk, just airing out your brain." So yeah, just like supporting that to maybe help someone get on the right track so that they avoid that burnout stage. I think when people are alone on these subjects, it's quite easy to end up in burnout. But when there's more people who are supporting that individual or group of individuals, kind of, you can prevent burnout to an extent. And so yeah, in terms of general burnout, I know that we can also land up in burnout through work. Having, again, speaking of those two words of discipline and support, discipline being that if you know that you have deadlines, etc. I know sometimes the deadlines are unavoidable. It's a matter of setting out daily kind of tasks, right? I'm going to get these deadlines done so that by the time I get home, I'm not having to sit on my computer, I'm not having to sit on my phone, but I could rather spend time with my partner, I know, or I could spend time with my family. I can spend time doing things that I enjoy. Sometimes when we don't prioritize work correctly or in the right sense, generally we end up, your whole life just becomes work, and a lot of the time you can end up in burnout. I know I've experienced, I don't want to say full out burnout, but towards the end of the year I've experienced a little bit of like, shit, you know what, the last thing that I want to be doing now is anything work related. And I mean, flip, that could be waking up on a Tuesday morning when I have to go to work. I think it's taking steps before that to be like, right, as soon as I get home, if I really don't have to, I'm not going to open my laptop, or I'm not going to even do a program, no matter, even if it's 10 minutes, I'm going to have that discipline to say, you know what, I'm going to hang back on this. I'm going to wake up early tomorrow and I'll get my day started by getting some work done. But then again, in that same voice, in a work sense, it's support. So if you know that you are drowning in work, or you're not sure how to do something, or you're just not able to complete something by yourself, it's having the confidence to approach someone and say, listen, I need your support on this. If you are struggling with a problem, it's getting out there and saying, hey, I mean, it's like me, I'd go to Russ or Shilo and say, listen, I have this, which I'm not quite too sure of how to go about it, like, and it's really worrying me out, and I'm starting to feel like a bit overwhelmed. And I mean, they can help you through that. They can offer that essential support that might click the light bulb for you, might get you through that kind of, that problem, that situation, that little period of time, and which will hopefully prevent a burnout per se. So yeah, for me, discipline, support, two of the biggest pillars that I would consider really important to prevent a burnout.
My take from it is also kind of being aware of pre-burnout, like, what steps you've got to take to avoid getting to that stage. So like you said there, Daine, being disciplined and pretty much understanding yourself. That's if I look at it from a physical point of view, or from exercises, like, again, like if I take, say, for example, that run that I did today, right? I've hit 10Ks, right? To ensure that I'm obviously improving, and I'm growing, and I'm trying to better my 10K run time, is now, do I run every single day and hopefully improve, but not do the right not take the right steps to make sure that, one, like you say, you take a break, or two, work on ways for recovery to make sure that my body is getting what it needs to not break down because of this continuous strain of hitting 10Ks every single day. So you've got to be aware of yourself. Like, sure, you can go and do that, but now when you fall off the cliff and you've reached that burnout point, the time for recovery is so much greater than what it would have been if you just took the steps beforehand, whilst attempting to obviously increase your skill. So yeah, I don't know if anybody else wants to say anything before we move on to the final question. Okay, so it's a bit of a bonus question, and the question is, what is your favorite lockdown pastime, Shilo?
2 words: football manager. I'm sure you guys know, but my routine that I've planned and prepared allows me to start playing at about 6, maybe 5 p.m. all the way through till about 11, 12, or whenever I've lost 3 or 4 games on the trot and I'm tired of the machine, then it's bedtime. I've reached burnout, exactly. But yeah, like, for me, gaming's been something that I've sort of always done. I think growing up, whatever, got 2 older sisters, and if I, as a kid, I was either sort of playing with a tennis ball, throwing it against a wall, hitting it back, or I was gaming. So this sort of periods actually allowed me again to go back to that and play something else besides FIFA. So yeah, that's been it's been that, and also just being at home. Like, generally Lee and I, she gets home at 4, I leave for afternoon sessions at 3:30. I leave home early morning. I get back at about 9, 9:30, 10, and she's really gone. So yeah, that's been quite cool, just being at home.
Nice. Do you think, even though you've been playing a lot of Football Manager, do you think though that's something that you're still going to do once this is all ended, or is it something you'll probably stop doing altogether?
The Football Manager or spending time with Lee?
I'll let you choose which one to answer.
I'm gonna go with Football Manager. I think from a gaming front, I probably won't be as deep in the Football Manager as I am now. Got up to 2029 yesterday. So yeah, I don't think I'll go that deep again, unless things go backwards and we're at level 5. Then I might even change clubs.
Out of curiosity, what club have you got?
United. Been with been with them for 10 years now, so things are going well.
Definitely better than the last set of managers.
Exactly. I've taken it upon myself to lead them back to glory. But yeah, I definitely think I will game in some part, but not as much as I'm doing now. Definitely not.
Yeah. Daine, same question.
So I think my favorite pastime during this lockdown has been my exercise sessions. what's really been cool is that I also, like Shilo said, he set out a particular time of his day. I've also set out a particular time where I try and avoid any form of extra work stuff, client stuff, anything that's going to kind of distract me. And I've dedicated that just to getting my exercise done. It's allowed me to work on things that I needed to do. I know for myself, like there was 1 or 2 injury niggles that I've been struggling with for a while now, and it's allowed me to spend time on them and kind of to learn how to get through them and understand them a little bit better, which I think is also going to put me in good stead getting back into practice with clients who might have something similar, where I've now spent 40 days or so really focusing, concentrating, and working these movements and exercise sessions, and it's going to be a nice carryover for when I get back into to seeing clients again. But yeah, just like the whole setting of it. I mean, going outside, put some music on, get a nice Spotify playlists. Hopefully, well, most days it's a nice sunny afternoon. Get out there and yeah, just do some exercise, play around with some movements. I know that generally Megan and myself, we don't get the opportunity to really train together and kind of bounce ideas off each other of different movements, etc. And this time has allowed us to do that. It's like kind of helping her a little bit with some workouts. She's helped me with a little bit of stuff, and we've just kind of worked really well in that sense. And it's kind of like a daily routine now, where we'll get in and we'll do our exercise sessions. And then another thing which I've really enjoyed is just being able to spend a little bit of time in the evenings doing a little bit more dinner prep with Megan. I know that I'm sure a lot of us guys, when we finish work at night, by the time we get home, it's already quite late, and either, if we're lucky, dinner's already prepared, or we have to really kind of put something together really quickly before it's time to go to bed. This lockdown has kind of allowed me to maybe set up a little bra, or prepare a dish which takes a little bit of time, and that's really cool. Like, I know midweek bras are not really a thing, but now they have become a thing because you can get your fire going, you can sit around, you can appreciate a little bit of the day, whether that be the sunset, the breeze in the air, anything like that. Like, it's just allowed me just to appreciate a little bit of the day a bit more, spend some time with my partner, and yeah, also learn some new things. Like, flip, you wanna make something, fucking get a recipe, look through it, work through it together, and yeah, just a little bit of bonding time, which has also been really, really cool. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Russ.
I think both of the guys, maybe I'm not quite gaming or anything, but I think my lockdown has really agreed with me. Like, I don't obviously miss my job and I miss my people, sort of miss whatever, but I've just really enjoyed, I want to say, a slightly more forgiving pace of life, where get to spend time together, get to chill out in the evenings, get to have a more sort of steady and controlled start to the day. Like, if I want to wake up and go for a run or something early on now, I can go and do that and still, have a full day ahead of me and get lots done. And I think that that's awesome. Enjoyed, like Daine said, being sort of around and slowing down in the evenings and being able to enjoy that after day time with your partner or whatever it is. And I think that that's very valuable. And I also have definitely enjoyed being able to have been able to make fitness or exercise a bit more of a routine in my life in the last 40 days or so. I think that that's been really something that I lacked before this, was a more like a structured exercise habit. Funnily enough, people think that because you own a gym, all you do is work out. It's the opposite. But I really enjoyed that, man, being able to get after some stuff, challenge myself, see what else is out there. And I think there's so much on offer, and you can if you wanted to, you could make a lot out of this lockdown. You, Jammer?
Yeah, I have to agree because for me, it's definitely slowed things down. Not just from a work point of view, but just being able to take the time and think about, okay, look, what can I do that's constructive right now instead of just sitting on the couch and watching Netflix and binging out a series. And I found, going on to YouTube and following quite a few guys that work in the same industry as me and seeing the way they maybe approach certain jobs or different camera techniques or editing techniques, which has been a real big help for me. So it's just having that ability now to actually just improve upon myself and my skills during this lockdown. So I think really that for me is like I'm enjoying that as a pastime right now, and I hope that I make sure that I get enough time or make time for myself when this all comes to an end, that I continue with that. So yeah, I think that summarizes that up for me.
That's such an interesting point, because I think that when sort of lockdown started, the threat or the danger was that you would slough all of your time away sitting and doing fuck all in front of Netflix or on the YouTubes or the Instagrams or whatever. But I know what I've found is that I actually am almost more purposeful about the way I spend my day. If I'm on my phone, it's for a purpose. If I'm like whatever it is, I find I'm a lot. I don't want to say a lot less forgiving, but I'm like looking for things to do that are more constructive than not. Whereas when we're in pre-COVID and you're in normal gym routine, I know for myself, anytime I wasn't at the gym, I was trying to decompress, which the lesson for me was need to live a less, Shilo brought it up earlier, a less hustly, grindy, busy lifestyle and live a far more purposeful one. And I think often you can do that by cutting things out of your life rather than adding them in.
Sure, yeah. I'd love to add on to more of that, but we've only got a minute and a half left here. Daine, if you just want to wrap things up for us.
Cool. Thank you, guys. Wait, let me try that again. Countdown, J-Mo. Should be under pressure here. All right. Cool. Well, that's all for today, guys. Thank you so much for joining us on our first episode of Valhalla Life. We will be back soon, having some special guests talking about their trade, talking about a little bit of fitness, a little bit of life in general. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you then. Cheers.